Jazz is America's music. What is jazz? Jazz is spirituals, ragtime, and blues. Jazz is swing, bebop, and fusion.
We're going to be singing in a few of these styles and talking about the history of jazz.
Oh, we will also tell you about many other famous jazz musicians along the way.
You may be wondering who has jazz. Well, we has jazz.
Jazz has its roots in Africa. Jazz began as music that slaves sang while working in the fields. Slaves often had very difficult actions with repetitive tunes to keep themselves going.
See if you can picture someone working as a slave as you listen to this tune.
In the morning, work. In the evening, work. Driving
think that sounded very jazzy, but that's just where jazz started taking shape.
Another popular style in the early years of jazz is called the blues. Bessie Smith is known as the Empress of Blues.
She was considered by many to be the greatest blues singer in history.
Bessie combined the traditions of rural blues and spirituals with jazz and created the powerful style of blues singing widely imitated today.
Another famous blues singer is Billie Holiday.
She is considered one of the most gifted and expressive jazz singers of the 20th century.
Lady Day, as she came to be called, is best known for her impeccable phrasing and the emotional intensity she brought to her songs.
Her autobiography was published in 1956 and was later made into a movie starring Diana Ross called Lady Sings the Blues.
Although we don't face the same troubles as many blues singers, some days we just feel like singing the blues too.
Not all jazz music is sad. In fact, most songs are upbeat and make you feel like dancing.
Let's travel now to New Orleans, the city that many people consider the birthplace of jazz.
It's the 1920s and a new sort of music is taking shape. One of the big names of this era is Jelly Roll Morton.
He fused together ragtime, blues, and spirituals to create a new sound of jazz.
Another famous name during this era was Joe Oliver.
He was nicknamed King Oliver.
He was a cornet to lead the famous Creole band. The Creole band came to define the New Orleans jazz sound. King Oliver played with another famous jazz legend during this time, Louis Armstrong. For almost 50 years, Louis Armstrong dominated the jazz world. He is still one of the best known and best loved jazz musicians. He was a trumpet soloist, vocalist, band leader, and composer. Jazz didn't just stay in New Orleans, though. It soon began to spread up the Mississippi and riverboats to cities like Kansas City and Chicago. Jazz soon spread like wildfire from the rivers and fields to the big cities like New York in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, and to the West Coast shortly thereafter. As jazz spread, it begins to evolve. One of these evolutions was the swing style. Swing is one of the most popular jazz styles.
Many people speak of the style when they hear the word jazz.
Two of the most popular band leaders of the swing era were Duke Ellington and Count Basie. Duke Ellington was a composer and piano player for many famous tunes.
Some of those tunes were Don't Get Around Much Anymore, Mood Indigo, and I'm Beginning to See the Light.
Count Basie was also a piano player and one of the greatest exponents of swing.
His band made famous the tune 1 O'Clock Jump. And his influence is heard in virtually every big band today. This next song was not written by Ellington or Basie, but is still in the swing style.
There
There are many more famous jazz musicians that also deserve mentioning. Benny Goodman was a band leader and clarinetist, nicknamed the King of Swing. Jim and Tommy Dorsey were brothers who led their own swing era band. Jim played clarinet and Tommy played trombone.
Their bands produced some of the most skillful soloists to come out of the 1930s and 40s.
Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, and Thelonious Monk are all given credit for forming another style of jazz popular in the 1940s and 50s called bebop.
These three men single-handedly changed the face of jazz forever.
The singer Cab Calloway became a big name entertainer and is famous for bringing us his Heidi, Heidi, Heidi Ho.
He also popularized jazz singing with using nonsense syllables to create jazzy sounds.
One of the most popular jazz vocalists, however, was Ella Fitzgerald.
Her fresh, relaxed voice made her one of the all-time greats.
What do you think would happen if all these famous jazzers got together? Well, they jammed. Jazz inside, so don't you run and don't you hide. Just share that music, make that sound. There's plenty of jazz to go around.
You got the rhythm, you got the style, you got the swing, and you got the smile. Now you're ready, it's up to you. There's only one thing left to do. Yeah, let's jam!
Jazz is the only music developed here in the United States.
It influences the sound of many types of music, some including soul, disco, funk, hip-hop, and R&B. Popular music is always changing and evolving, but jazz has always had a major part in the history of music. Jazz is uniquely American. We have jazz and everybody wants it.